Welcome back. In part 1, we talked all about how ego can trip us up on the way to our goals. But what happens when we actually get there? Well, today in part 2 of our journey through Ryan Holiday's Ego is the Enemy, we're tackling what might be the most dangerous phase of all, success.
So, picture this. After all that hard work, all the sweat, all the sacrifice, you've finally done it. You are standing at the top, looking down at the path you just climbed. The view? It's spectacular. But this right here, this is where the real danger begins. See, success isn't some finish line you cross. It's a whole new world. The air is thinner up here, and it's filled with brand new temptations, new problems you've never faced. And your ego, that thing you worked so hard to keep in check on the way up, it's now got all the fuel it could ever want to burn everything you've built to the ground. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the success trap, that sickness that ego brings when we achieve something great. Then, we'll get into the good stuff, the antidotes, the things you need to do to not just survive at the top, but to actually thrive and build something that lasts. So let's kick things off with a story. This is a cautionary tale about what happens when ego gets completely out of control after just a little taste of success, and it's told through the life of one of history's most brilliant failures. I mean, Howard Hughes was a legitimate genius, a visionary pilot, an inventor, a filmmaker. The guy could do it all. But his life is just this tragic case study in ego-driven destruction. He inherited a fortune and just lit it on fire, one arrogant project after another. He wasn't taken down by bad luck or tough competition. He was destroyed from the inside out by an ego that cost him literally everything. And this isn't some one-off thing. The former CEO of ITT, Harold Janine, he saw this pattern all the time. He said, egotism is the thing that really blinds you to reality. You start living in your own little world, totally convinced you can't make a mistake, and that's the moment you become the single biggest threat to your own success.
Okay, so how do we fight this disease? What's the first antidote? It's simple, but it is so hard. It's recognizing that no matter how much you've accomplished, you are never, ever done learning. You never graduate.
Now get ready for this, because it's going to force you to rethink everything you know about Genghis Khan. We think of him as this brutal barbarian, right? But his real genius wasn't just brute force, it was his unstoppable curiosity. He was a perpetual student, constantly stealing and absorbing the best ideas, the best technology, the smartest people from every single place he conquered. That's what made him so unbelievably effective.
The physicist John Wheeler just nailed it with this quote. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. A true professional loves this feeling. They love being humbled, they love being challenged. It's the amateur, the one who's all puffed up from a little bit of success, who pretends they've got it all figured out. And you know what? That is the exact moment they stop growing.
And this idea of always learning flows right into our next antidote, which is all about clarity. You see, once you're successful, it is so easy to get distracted by shiny objects. The key is to know your own path and to stick to it, no matter what everyone else is doing.
I mean, just look at Generals Grant and Sherman after the Civil War. They were the two biggest heroes in America. They could have had anything they wanted. Sherman knew his purpose. He basically said, I'm good, and retired to a quiet, happy life. But Grant's ego always wanted more. More power, more money, and that chase for more completely destroyed him. A national hero, undone by an ego that could never, ever be satisfied. You know, the philosopher Seneca actually had a word for this feeling, euthymia. It's that deep, quiet confidence that you're on your path. It's not about beating the other guy or having a bigger house. It's just about being the best version of yourself in the lane you chose. That's it. That's real tranquility. But of course, staying on that path is really hard. Why? Because success brings with it these three poisons that just rot our judgment from the inside. Entitlement, that feeling that we deserve it all, an addiction to control, and this creeping paranoia that everyone is out to get us.
And believe me, this is not a new problem. The poet William Blake warned us centuries ago. The laurel crown was a symbol of victory for the Romans. So he's saying the strongest poison comes from success itself. The minute we start believing our own hype, our greatest win becomes the seed of our biggest loss.
So, the bottom line is how you manage yourself. Just compare President Eisenhower with the car CEO John DeLorean. Eisenhower's job was to set the mission and empower his team to execute it. He trusted people. DeLorean, on the other hand, thought he was a genius above the rules. His ego created total chaos and his company imploded in spectacular fashion. He couldn't manage himself, so there was no way he could lead anyone else. And this all leads us to the final pieces of the puzzle, the stabilizers. To sustain success, to avoid becoming another cautionary tale, we need two things: sobriety to manage ourselves, and perspective to understand our tiny, little place in the world.
This is what the Stoics called sympatheia. It's this feeling of connection to the cosmos, to nature, to, well, everything. It's that deep, humbling feeling you get when you realize your life, your successes, even your biggest problems, they're just one tiny thread in this infinitely vast and beautiful tapestry. Okay, get ready because this fact is going to mess with your head. Cleopatra lived closer in time to us and the invention of the iPhone than she did to the actual building of the Great Pyramids. Just sit with that for a second. Meditating on facts like that just dissolves the ego, doesn't it? It puts our huge, important achievements into their proper place.
If you want a modern masterclass in this, look at someone like Angela Merkel. Her power never came from big, fiery speeches or a massive ego. It came from this deep, profound sobriety. She was slow, she was steady, she was reserved. She cared about the work, not the credit. And that quiet, disciplined approach is exactly what made her leadership so powerful and so sustainable. So, at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. Handling success is the final exam. It's what separates the one-hit wonders from the people who build legacies. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you're here, at your own summit, what are you going to do to make sure your ego doesn't send you tumbling right back down to the bottom?